Hey everyone, it's Ben from the Men Scented. Thanks for tuning in, and if you're new, welcome. Please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with any news fragrance related. Today I'm going to talk to you about one of my most favorite fragrance profile, that of rose. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about rose fragrances. As you can imagine, being one of my favorite fragrance profile, I have accumulated quite a large number of fragrances here that have rose or are rose dominant. I'm going to try to focus on my top 15. I tried to do a top 10, but it's literally impossible to get my favorite out. In order to be able to concise everything into 15 top fragrances, I actually had to completely disregard my oud rose combinations because I think I have around 30 to 40 only oud rose fragrances. So without further ado, here are my top 15. At place 15 is Vertus Oriental Rose. This is a beautiful rose fragrance and I do like it, but on my skin it leans a little bit more feminine, and honestly speaking, I feel it is a little linear. So Oriental Rose by Vertus has some saffron, lavender, cardamom up top with olibanum and lemon. In the mid, it's got some orris, rose of course, patchouli, violet, gaiac wood, and cloves. And at the base, it's got vetiver, sandalwood, amber, musk, vanilla, and cedar. It's beautiful. It's somewhat complex, but to my nose, it's very linear and it gives me a little bit of a feminine touch. So Oriental Rose by Vertus. Next up on place 14 is Lavande Rosé by Q. Q is a fragrance house based in New York City. The nose behind all of their creations is Quentin Hernandez. Lavande Rose starts with a lavender note from the get-go, lemon, rose, violet, lilac, vanilla, and ylang ylang. It is truly a gorgeous fragrance, definitely worth getting your nose on. So Lavande Rosé by Q. On place 13, we have Frédéric Malle's Portrait of a Lady. Now, Portrait of a Lady by Dominique Rapillon is a classic and it smells stunning. Many people say it smells a little bit like an old woman's fragrance. I disagree. I think that if you like rose fragrances and you know how to apply it properly, this will definitely smell amazing. So Portrait of a Lady starts off with rose, clove, raspberry, blackcurrant, cinnamon, and red berries at the top. Some Turkish rose, patchouli, incense, sandalwood, and ylang ylang in the mid. And incense, sandalwood, musk, benzoin, amber, cedar, ambergris, and vanilla at the base. Now, it does sound more complex than I perceive it to be. It does smell great, but personally to me, there are other fragrances that made the list further up. Again, I own over 40 rose fragrances, so even a spot 13 is pretty good. At 13, Portrait of a Lady. On spot 12, we have Fragrance du Bois New York, Fifth Avenue. Now, this is a fragrance created by Shadi Samra, and it is very rose heavy. It starts off with rose, bergamot. In the mids, you have caramel, cypriol oil, violet, and at the base, you have cashmere wool, vanilla, musk, and gaiac wood. This is beautiful, gorgeous. Personally, I would wear it more when it's a little colder. Definitely good for the spring. I'm not sure I would wear it in the high heat in summer, but it's a beautifully gorgeous, rose-heavy fragrance. From Fragrance du Bois, New York, Fifth Avenue. On the 11th spot, we have Frédéric Malle's ACNE Studio. Now, this is a beautiful, clean fragrance, aldehyde heavy with some rose, musk, isoe super, and some frankincense at the bottom. It's absolutely gorgeous. Starts off with aldehydes, bergamot, and mandarin up top, peach, orange blossom, violet rose, lily of the valley, jasmine in the mid, sandalwood, frankincense, isoe super, musk, vanilla, and heliotrope at the bottom. It's a super beautiful, clean fragrance. If you want to smell like clean linen, you can go with this. It's absolutely gorgeous. Frédéric Malle, ACNE Studio. I will add one more fragrance at the same spot, which is Arabian Ouds Sultani. It's a beautiful fragrance. The reason I would like to add this at the same spot is because it does the same thing. It's a clean linen fragrance, and here it smells more like a white, crisp shirt. It's just a different take. So the same way we have ACNE Studio by Frederic Malle, which is more of a French take. We have Arabian Ouds Sultani, which is more of a Middle Eastern take. In my opinion, I would go with Sultani any day of the week, just because it appeals more, it really stands out. It adds a little bit more of an allure to it. Here you got cardamom, red berries, pink pepper, bergamot, and tangerine up top. Damask rose, lily of the valley, freesia in the mid, musk, sandalwood, amber, and patchouli at the bottom. This one is an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. The first time I wore it, I was on a flight to the Middle East, and I thought, what fragrance can I put on that may not be too cloying? You know, who knows how the trip will go? I don't want to wear something that is too cloying on such a long flight. And this was really beautiful and clean, and the more I wore it, the more elegant it became. Sultani is definitely in the same vibe as ACNE Studio, which is why I would put it at the same rank. Sultani by Arabian Oud and ACNE Studio by Frederic Malle. We're starting the top 10 now. If you like my video so far, please make sure to like and subscribe to stay updated with anything fragrance related. On the 10th spot, we have Steven Umberto Lucas Rose de Petra. This is a gorgeous rose fragrance that starts off at the top with rose, lychee, and pomegranate. In the middle, we got Bulgarian rose, and at the base, we have cardamom, black pepper, and cumin. Now, I will say the cumin in here did not bother me at all. There are some fragrances where cumin is involved, where I hear from people that it smells like something they're cooking or they were in the middle of kitchen, but no, in here, it smells beautiful. It's a rose fragrance. The mix of rose with lychee and pomegranate is truly something different. It does not smell like Jadoub by Mind Games. Mind Games Jadoub also has pomegranate, but it's a completely different profile. This one smells unique. It's a rose fragrance and it's absolutely gorgeous. Steven Umberto Lucas Rose de Petra on my 10th spot. On my 9th spot is a fragrance I talked about in one of my previous videos, which is Veronique Gabay's Ready for Rosé. I'm going to link the review I did, caption below. This one is Veronique Gabay's Ready for Rosé, and I'll tell you, if there is one rose fragrance that gives me all the summer vibe and laying on the beach, it's this. It starts with magnolia, rhubarb, and some green notes up top. Freesia, rose, jasmine, sambac, and orange blossom in the middle. Musk, cedar, and ambroxan at the base. This one is absolutely beautiful. The mixture of orange blossom, rose, and the rhubarb are just absolutely gorgeous. So for the summer specifically, but on my list, on spot 9, Veronique Gabay's Ready for Rosé. On my 8th spot, I'm going to put two fragrances again, just because they are by the same brand and the same nose. The two fragrances are Ambre Safrano and Tabac Rose by BDK Parfum. These are both created by Julien Rasquinet. Ambre Safrano starts off with a note of saffron. We got leather, olibanum, plum, which is very dominant here, oak, vanilla bean, sandalwood, black pepper, and rose. So it has rose, it is not dominant, which brings me over to Tabac Rose. Tabac Rose also has plum, pink pepper, and Italian lemon at the top, Turkish rose, chocolate, and cinnamon in the mid, in the heart notes, tobacco, patchouli, and labdanum at the base. This one's an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. It does smell a little bit like a soda, like a pop soda once you put it on, but that transitions very fast into a beautiful rose fragrance. So by BDK Parfum, Tabac Rose, and Ambre Safrano. On the 7th spot, we have a fragrance which in my opinion is not talked about enough, and that's from the house of Amouage, Rose Incense. Now Rose Incense is from the Library Collection, Opus 12 Rose Incense. It is a beautiful rose. It starts off very rosy and then transitions into something incensey, masculine, and powerful. It starts off at the top with olibanum, an ink accord, and elemi resin. At the heart, you got rose. At the base, you have myrrh, sandalwood, vanilla, and cedar. Now this fragrance, like I said, starts off with a very dominant rose note. you do get some frankincense, but it's more of a fresh frankincense. Later on, it transitions into something more smoky, into something more resiny, more incensey, and truly a powerful fragrance in my opinion. Very underrated, but that is something that if you like roses, you can definitely pull it off. If not, get your nose on it first. Rose Incense by Amouage. On the 6th spot of best rose fragrances in my collection is from a niche brand called Argos Adonis Awakens. Now, I love Argos. It's an amazing house. They've got some really great fragrances. This is one of them. This one gets overlooked sometimes, and I think it is because of its predominant rose accord, which is beautifully gorgeous. So there is a typical peppery accord, which you have with most Argos fragrances. This one starts off with grapefruit, bergamot, and pink pepper. At the heart, you've got raspberry, Bulgarian rose, vanilla, jasmine, sambac, and chestnut. And at the base, you have rose, cashmere wood, and sandalwood. Now, they do specify that it's Missouri sandalwood. I'm not sure it makes a difference in the profile. There's a beautiful rose fragrance that really makes you stand out. Argos Adonis Awakens. Now, in spot 6 of my top rose fragrances is a fragrance that has been talked about and has been hyped by several influencers. It started off with Demi Rolling several years back, and is, as far as I understand, the signature scent and the favorite fragrance of Cubano. I'm going to link both of their profiles down in the description just to make sure that you follow them. They are legends in the field of fragrance review, so if you don't follow them, please change that today. At number 6, it's no other than Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo. Now, Tuxedo starts off with violet leaf, coriander and bergamot up top, rose in the middle with some black pepper and lily of the valley, patchouli, ambergris, and vanilla at the base. It seems like a relatively simple profile, and there are many fragrances that try to do it, but none of them can do it as well as YSL. This is a patchouli vanilla fragrance, but rose does play a keynote here, which is why this fragrance made my 6th spot, my top rose fragrances. From YSL, Yves Saint Laurent, Tuxedo. Now, for my 5th spot of top rose fragrances is a fragrance that is new in my collection, but I've been wearing it non-stop since I got it. It's a fragrance where I've received a lot of compliments on, and it is a gorgeous aldehydic rose fragrance. This is none other than Amouage's Existence. Now, Existence starts off with lily of the valley aldehydes and rose straight up top. It's got mid notes of frankincense, labdanum, and an artificial note called mystical in its heart notes, benzoin, wet musk, and ambergris. This is at the base. This is one of the most gorgeous fragrances I'm currently wearing. It's a very springy and summery fragrance, even though you can definitely pull it off for all 4 seasons. Now, the story behind Existence, absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to link my review of Existence and Decision from Amouage here. Make sure to watch the review if you want to learn more about Existence and the absolutely beautiful story behind it. My spot number 5, Amouage Existence. Now, for spot number 4 is one which is loved by many boozy fragrance lovers. It's no other than Nasomato's Baraonda. Now, if you haven't gotten your nose onto this, I highly suggest you do. It's a whiskey fragrance with woody notes, some rose, maybe even some musk. Truth is that Alessandro Gualtieri, the nose behind Nasomato, and Otto Parisi does not disclose the notes behind his fragrances, so it's really up to all of us to smell. It is a whiskey rose fragrance which could not have been executed more beautifully. So this one, in my opinion, is blind buy worthy if you like boozy fragrances. Baraonda by Nasomato. Now, as I mentioned, this was a very difficult exercise to concise all of my rose fragrances into 15 spots, given that rose is one of my favorite notes. Here are 5 honorable mentions before we get to my top 3. Amouage Lyric Men. Beautiful rose fragrance that gets just a little dirty on the dry down. Chanel number 5, Eau de Toilette, a classical aldehydic rose fragrance that smells like falling snow on a winter day. Byretto's Rose of No Man's Land. A subtle rose fragrance with a paper accord. Eau Jar Red Redemption. Blood Orange Rose Patchouli Musk. Amouage Guidance 46. Kentambiche Rose Pear Hazelnut Saffron Vanilla. Need I say more? And Initio's Atomic Rose. A rose jasmine amber fragrance, unisex, good for every occasion. So now for my top 3 on 3rd spot from Dior Private Collection, Santal Noir. Santal Noir is a sandalwood rose fragrance with ambrette. It is beautiful, gorgeous. Rose was one of Christian Dior's favorite notes. It's my understanding that he used to have a rose garden where he would pick roses with his mom. I mean, just look at that dent. In 2024, there was a rumor that Santal Noir was going to be discontinued. So the story behind Santal Noir is quite interesting. First, it came out as a Middle East exclusive. Then they made it available at Harrods in London. Then it was available everywhere. Or in 2024, I was told, and it seems like everybody thought the same, that Santal Noir was going to be discontinued. So on top of this bottle, I actually got the 200 ml bottle as well, which I've started using just a bit. But yeah, Santal Noir is definitely an amazing fragrance, which I would recommend. I love it so much, I'd wear it as a signature scent, but I need to wear a few other fragrances just to get the ball rolling. The sandalwood is definitely different to classical sandalwood fragrances. I'm not sure if it's the way Francois Demachy created the sandalwood, whether it's an accord or how the rose impacts the sandalwood. But it is a beautiful fragrance that I definitely recommend you get your nose on. Amazing. By Christian Dior, Santal Noir. On my 2nd spot, from Frederic Malle, the Dawn Collection Promise, created by Dominique Ropion. Promise starts off with a green apple accord, pink pepper, rosemary, saffron, and cloves. At the heart notes, you find 2 different types of roses, Bulgarian rose and Turkish rose, and they stand out, especially in the dry down. And at the base, you got cypriol oil, patchouli, castoreum, labdanum, and ambroxan. Now, this is a powerful fragrance. It's part of the Desert Gems collection, where you have the moon, the night, dawn, and promise. It's my understanding that Promise is the only one that is not heavy on oud. This one doesn't have oud at all. But it is beautifully created by Dominique Ropion with a remarkable green apple accord and the rose that truly stands out. Now, in about an hour and a half into the wear, the rose starts shining, and this is a fragrance that stays on for about 20 hours. So Promise by Frederic Malle, my number 2. And my number 1 spot of top rose fragrances in my collection is a fragrance that caught my attention when reviewed by Aaron Terrence Hughes, who gave this a straight up 10 out of 10. And in all fairness, this is no other than Matière Première Radical Rose Extrait. Now, Radical Rose, the EDP, is very different to the Extrait. The Extrait has really something on top. It's got the extra oomph, the extra power. This is truly not only long lasting, but the profile is so outstanding. It smells like nothing out there, more masculine, beautiful, truly a rose fragrance like no other. The notes here are May Rose, Patchouli, Saffron, Pepper, Immortelle, and Labdanum. Now, from the nose itself, I cannot even describe how amazing this fragrance smells. So if there's one fragrance where I definitely recommend you get your nose on, it's Radical Rose Extrait by Matière Première, my number 1 of top rose fragrances. Go. Thank you so much for watching my top 15 rose fragrances. I know I threw some extra honorable mentions in there, but all of them are absolutely outstanding, amazing, and I wouldn't do them justice not to mention them. So if you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram for anything fragrance related. See you next time, and as always, stay scented.